Bonjour et bienvenue à notre réunion de midi en ligne et en direct sur EBS. Nous sommes aujourd'hui le vendredi 1er octobre. Permettez-moi de vous annoncer l'agenda de la présidente von der Leyen pour la semaine prochaine. Lundi, dans l'après-midi, la présidente se rendra à Helsinki pour présenter l'évaluation de la Commission du plan national pour la reprise et la résilience. Elle rencontrera la Première ministre, Sanna Marin, et ensemble, elles visiteront un projet qui sera financé grâce à Next Generation EU. Mardi, la présidente von der Leyen sera à Tallinn dans le même cadre. Elle rencontrera la Première ministre Kaja Kallas et présentera l'évaluation du plan pour la reprise et la résilience de l'Estonie. Plus tard, la présidente et la Première ministre visiteront des projets qui seront financés à travers Next Generation EU. Vous trouverez bien entendu plus de détails sur ces visites dans notre Daily News d'aujourd'hui. Puis, mardi, dans l'après-midi, la présidente sera à Strasbourg pour présider la réunion du Collège des commissaires. Le soir, elle se rendra à Brdo, Slovénie, pour participer au dîner de travail du Conseil européen. Mercredi, toujours à Brdo, la présidente participera au sommet entre l'Union européenne et les partenaires des Balkans occidentaux. Enfin, jeudi, la présidente prononcera le discours d'ouverture au sommet de l'Union européenne sur les investissements soutenables. Enfin, je voudrais exprimer mes condoléances au nom de la Commission aux familles et amis des victimes de l'incendie qui s'est déclaré ce matin dans une unité de soins intensifs traitant des malades de la Covid-19 dans un hôpital de Constanța, Roumanie. Nos pensées sont avec les victimes et leurs proches. Voilà qui conclut nos annonces pour aujourd'hui et nous sommes prêts à passer à vos questions. Oliver, you have the floor.
Hi. It's a justice question concerning the European Public Prosecutor. The EU Chief Prosecutor, Laura Kövesi, just said in the EU Parliament's Budgetary Control Committee that Slovenia still hasn't nominated its two delegated European prosecutors. And she said, quote, "This means we can't operate in Slovenia. It's as if the EPO is not working in Slovenia right now." So my question to you is, first of all, are you in contact with the Slovenian government, and do you insist on the Slovenian government to finally make good on its repeated promise to fully cooperate and stop sabotaging the European Public Prosecutor's Office? Secondly, what are the responses you get from the Slovenian government? Because I, as a reporter, do not get a reply, not even from the spokesman of the Slovenian EU presidency, which is still going on for another 3 or 4 months. 3 months, I think. And thirdly, are there legal remedies the Commission could use and would be willing to do, something like a mise en demeure or any other legal tool you have in order to make sure that Slovenia is finally fully living up to its obligations there? Thank you.
Thank you. Christian.
Yeah, thank you, Oliver, for the question. I will, of course, now not comment on the exchanges in the Parliament, but I'm happy to remind you of our position in this respect. We are, of course, in contact, indeed, with the Slovenian authorities for quite a while on this issue. You will remember that also the President herself was very clear in July in Ljubljana to make clear that, pacta sunt servanda, she said back then, and that we expect Slovenia to nominate a candidate. And I would also refer you back to what Commissioner Reinders said recently, and I quote, "We will analyze all possible avenues to force Slovenia to fulfill the obligations of the regulation. It is, of course, possible to come back to Luxembourg, to another part of the European justice system," unquote. So I think that should answer your question of possible possible legal steps if necessary. Of course, we remain in contact. There were several letters and political exchanges with the Slovenian government on this issue, and you can be sure that we will continue to following this up. As for the question of the functioning of the EPPO, I think I've also explained here before that there are, of course, interim solutions to this matter, so that this can be, that the EPPO can also do its work. But of course, this is not a sustainable situation, and this is why we have been very clear on this matter, and will continue to follow this up with the Slovenian authorities.
Oliver, you have a follow-up.
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Christian, for the answers. The problem is, pacta non sunt servanda by Slovenia, quod erat demonstrandum. And so the question is, when is the Commission, how long does the Commission want to wait until it actually is going to knock on another door in the Luxembourg EU legal institutions? And concerning the interim solutions you mentioned, these do explicitly not exist in Slovenia. I quote Madame Kövesi, she said, quote, Slovenia is like a black hole for us. We cannot operate there. The European Public Prosecutor can only operate in a country, in a participating country, if there are delegated European prosecutors. They do not exist. So Slovenia is a black hole. So there's no proper control of EU funds being spent there by the EPO. So how long do you want to wait? And what are the justifications the Slovenians give you for not doing what they already promised Madame von der Leyen in summer? Because it's October now.
Okay,
Christian.
Look, Oliver, I mean, you're an old hand here, so you will not be surprised that I will not. I'm not in a position to announce any possible legal action of the Commission before the Commission does take any such decision. So I will stay with what I've said. Just to explain again, and again, I will not now comment on the exchanges in the Parliament, but the EPPO regulation does provide that in exceptional circumstances, the European delegated prosecutors can be replaced by the European prosecutor from the same member state. So this is the procedure that is foreseen. But again, as I said, we've made clear many times that this is not a sustainable situation and that it needs to be addressed.
Thank you. Are there any other rule of law questions for Christian today? I do not see any hands raised in the room. Please only keep your hand raised in the chat if you have a question on rule of law. Okay, I have 2 hands raised on rule of law. Justin.
Hello, yes, mine was actually over UK, France and retaliation calls. Shall I ask this now or do you want me to wait?
I believe I was extremely clear. Please, only keep your hand raised if your question is on the rule of law for the moment. Mose.
Yes, thank you, Eric. I think this is a question especially for Christian, I think so. As you know, there was a ruling yesterday by the Belgian Constitutional Court which upheld a previous ruling by European Court of Justice on banning ritual slaughter, they say slaughter without stunning, for the Jewish and Muslim communities in the EU. Okay, I know that you don't comment on court rulings, but my question is related to that ruling, and because I think the Commission promised after the ruling in December that it would start some kind of talks with these concerned communities. So I wonder if that has happened. And the second question is because let's say what the European Court of Justice was supposed to do was to make some kind of interpretation of an EU regulation. And the question is whether there is something in the pipeline, whether, let's say, the Commission plans to amend this regulation to better protect ritual slaughter on religious grounds in the EU. Thank you.
Christian.
Yeah, thank you, Mose, for this question. We've exchanged on this, I remember, in December when there was a ruling by the European Court of Justice on this matter. What I can say now is that the Commission is aware of the Belgian Constitutional Court ruling, which is implementing what the European Court of Justice had decided on the ban on animal slaughter without stunning. From the ruling of the European Court of Justice from December, it can be inferred that member states can adopt stricter national rules on slaughter aimed at ensuring more extensive protection of animals at the time of killing, under the condition that they adequately consider the requirements of the freedom of religion, which is guaranteed by the Charter of Fundamental Rights, and show on basis of scientific evidence and societal concerns that such stricter rules are necessary. The Commission is, of course, aware of the reactions by the Muslim and Jewish communities. Let me just stress that Muslim and Jewish communities are and will, of course, always be welcome in Europe, and that freedom of religion constitutes one of the fundamental rights enshrined in the EU Charter of Fundamental Rights. As regards your concrete question on the legislation in place, I don't have any specific announcement to make. This is as I explained, a follow-up by a national court of a judgment interpreting the EU legislation and implementing it in a national context.
Thank you. Are there other rule of law questions for Christian today? No, so we go back to Justin, who had a question on the UK, if I understand well. Justin.
Yes, the French Maritime Minister has called on the European Commission to enact retaliatory clauses in the Brexit agreement following disagreement on fishing rights and this cross-channel spat. Will the Commission consider this request? If so, when, please?
Thank you. Vivian?
Thank you very much for this question. What I can say regarding this issue of the fishing rights and the limited amount of licenses that have been granted to the French fishermen and women is that on our side, on the Commission side, we continue to engage with the British authorities on this. We've taken note of the announcements and we regret that there were not more licenses granted. And we've asked the UK authorities now to explain to us their methodology, because on our side from the Commission, we believe that, not that we believe, we know that we went through those licenses which we submitted to the UK, and those were all justified and could show the history of having fished there in these years 2012 to 2016. So on our side, where we are now, is that we're going to continue to engage with the UK to make sure that we will get the interests of our fishermen and women covered there, and they would get the licenses that they should according to the conditions that we have agreed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Justin, you have a follow-up question.
Yes, specifically, the French minister called for retaliation clauses yesterday on French radio. Have you received this call? Has there been any discussion with the French about this call? And is retaliation on the table, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. Where we are is that we are in constant contact with the French authorities. Commissioner Sinkevicius is speaking to his counterpart, also, of course, then the Maritime and the Fisheries Minister. The colleagues in the relevant Director Generals are talking to their counterparts. And the aim of those discussions is to make sure that we come to a conclusion or we come to a situation where those licenses, where we see that they are justified, that they should also be granted. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there other questions on this issue. Virginie,
Oui, bonjour, vous m'entendez?
nous t'entendons, vas-y.
Oui, Viviane, si j'ai bien compris ce que tu as dit que, aux yeux de la Commission, toutes les demandes de licence qui avaient été faites auprès des autorités britanniques étaient justifiées. Donc tu considères que la décision des autorités britanniques ne l'est pas?
Merci Virginie. C'est ce que je dis. C'est que, ou je peux expliquer maintenant plus largement comment ça fonctionne. Je n'ai pas dit exactement c'est ce que tu as compris. Mais la situation fonctionne comme ça, que maintenant, après Brexit, les bateaux qui veulent avoir la licence de faire la pêche dans les zones britanniques doivent justifier qu'ils ont eu ces activités de pêche pendant de 2012 jusqu'à 2016. Les pêcheurs doivent avoir des preuves, exactement, de ça. Et il donne ces preuves aux autorités françaises qui les vérifient, donnent à la Commission, et nous vérifions, nos collègues en charge de ces questions de la pêche vérifient ces preuves. Et ce n'est pas quelque chose très facile, puisque on parle ici de petits vaisseaux qui n'ont pas eu légalement l'obligation d'avoir été ces activités, les positions suivies électroniquement, etc. Mais de côté de la Commission, nous avons vérifié ces demandes de licence et on a conclu, concernant les licences que nous avons passées aux autorités britanniques de Jersey, que dans ce cas des licences que nous avons proposées là, ils ont pu effectivement démontrer l'activité historique concernant ces licences. Merci.
Merci beaucoup. Y a-t-il d'autres questions pour Viviane sur ce sujet? On this? Please, go ahead.
Thank you. Jessica Parker, BBC News. I just want to clarify, Viviane, sorry. Are you saying the majority of the licenses that you guys saw, or all of the licenses that you guys saw, in your view, qualified to be granted them? And can I also check, you've said the last few days you're asking for the methodology from the UK and presumably Jersey governments. What I'm hearing from UK government sources is they think they've pretty much explained all of their workings out. So I wondered if you'd had any sign that they would be giving you any further explanation. Will they be giving you their full methodology that you've asked for?
Thank you, Jessica. Where we are is that on the side of the Commission, we receive those licenses from the member states, the license demands, and we go through them. And we want to make sure that there is all available relevant evidence that demonstrates the historic activity for those pending licenses. So those licenses that we submit to the United Kingdom for their approval, we only submit, of course, those licenses where we see that there is sufficient evidence to show that they should be granted the licenses. Thank you. And regarding the methodology, the second part of your question, this is something where we're asking the UK on our side to have the full disclosure because of the discrepancy between our own analysis and their analysis.
OK, thank you, Viviane. Virginie, tu as une question de suivi?
Oui, merci Viviane. Je voulais savoir, donc là vous avez demandé des explications au Royaume-Uni. Quelle est l'étape suivante?
Nous continuons à engager avec les autorités de Royaume-Uni et Jersey pour arriver à une situation où les pêcheurs qui doivent avoir ces licences aient ces licences.
Contacts continue. OK. I see only one hand raised for the moment, and it is Danek in the chat. So Danek, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. It's not on the UK though, but I think it's for Viviane on Turów coal mine in Poland. Is that okay?
Go ahead. Yeah, we've exhausted the fish issue.
Thank you. So to coal, another round of bilateral talks between Poland and Czechia has ended up with no result. And I was wondering if you could tell us how do you assess the situation? Is there anything the Commission can do right now to help the agreement? I would like to particularly like to know why the Commission is not involved directly in the talks, because we saw some other cases, such as it was 2 years ago, I think, when the Commission was playing a role of mediator between Czechia and Poland in the dispute over salmonella in meat. So I was wondering why the Commission is not playing the same role here. And secondly, Poland is still refusing to pay the fine ECJ has decided on. So I was wondering if you can tell us when the Commission is going to decide to deduct the money from the next payment from Poland. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Where we are is that regarding the first part of your question, regarding the bilateral talks between Poland and the Czech Republic, should they request the participation of the Commission is ready to do so, to facilitate the identification of a workable solution that would respect the rules. So this is the answer to your first question. On the paying of the fines, I don't have much to add compared to what we've been discussing here before already. For us, we see this in a very clear manner. The court has issued its order to pay the daily penalty, and it is now for Poland to do so. And we are following our own procedures to make that happen.
Danik, you have a follow-up.
Just a quick one, thank you. It's nevertheless up to your decision how long do you want to wait before the Poland decides to pay. So I would like to know how long do you expect this could take before the Poland is going to uphold the decision of ECJ. Thank you.
Look, I think you know us, and you know that just like we had in the previous case, we do not put forward plans in such circumstances. When we will have decided to act, we will, of course, inform you. Okay, I see no further questions for Viviane, so I go to Isabelle.
Bonjour, moi j'ai sans surprise une question sur la Suisse. Donc merci beaucoup pour la réaction qu'on a lue hier à chaud sur le vote. Ce que je voulais savoir, c'est qu'est-ce qui va se passer maintenant? Qu'est-ce qui, à vos yeux, devrait se passer maintenant? Parce que côté suisse, on estime avoir tendu la main. Est-ce que vous allez la saisir pour qu'il y ait peut-être une nouvelle rencontre, peut-être pour ouvrir des négociations sur la recherche? Voilà, je voulais savoir de votre point de vue, qu'est-ce qui doit arriver maintenant? Merci.
Merci Isabelle. Je n'ai pas d'informations particulières à te transmettre sur des prochaines étapes. Soyons très clairs, nous avons exprimé hier notre satisfaction avec la décision suisse concernant cette contribution aux cohésion, mais comme notre réaction le disait très clairement, il s'agissait d'une obligation de la part de la Suisse. Donc il ne s'agit pas d'une main tendue vers l'Union européenne, il s'agit du respect d'un engagement pris par la Suisse et un engagement sur lequel la Suisse avait beaucoup de retard. Nous sommes évidemment satisfaits du fait que les autorités suisses ont maintenant pris la décision de remplir cette obligation. Et bien entendu, nous continuerons à avoir avec les autorités suisses tous les contacts nécessaires et appropriés. Mais je ne suis pas ici en mesure de détailler de manière spécifique quels seront d'éventuels prochains contacts. Isabelle.
Oui, j'ai dit... Oh, tu m'entends, ouais. Mon souvenir, c'était qu'au mois de mai, quand la Suisse a claqué la porte des discussions sur l'accord institutionnel, il avait été dit que le versement de ce milliard de cohésion était un préalable à la réouverture des négociations sur la recherche. Alors, il y avait aussi une autre condition qui était l'état général de la relation. Mais voilà, ce préalable a été acté hier soir, donc est-ce qu'on peut quand même attendre du mouvement sur la recherche, ou est-ce que pour vous, il n'en est pas question jusqu'à ce qu'il n'y ait pas, je ne sais pas quoi d'autre d'ailleurs, mais je voudrais savoir qu'est-ce qu'il faut pour que la Suisse puisse commencer à avoir des négociations sur une association à Horizon Europe. Merci.
D'accord, excuse-moi, je n'avais pas compris que ta question avait trait spécifiquement à la participation de la Suisse au programme Horizon Europe. Sur cette question, je passe la parole à Johannes, qui pourra nous redonner les conditions pour la participation d'un pays tiers au programme Horizon Europe.
Merci beaucoup, Eric. Donc, je peux peut-être rajouter, comme Eric a déjà dit, la contribution était inconditionnelle. C'est la contrepartie logique d'accès de la Suisse au marché unique de l'Union européenne. Donc, il n'y a pas vraiment un lien avec d'autres dossiers, si tu veux. Il n'y a aucune conditionnalité. Donc, pour l'instant, les discussions exploratoires avec la Suisse sont suspendues. Donc, il n'y a pas une nouvelle décision prise pour l'instant. Voilà, la décision de la Suisse est bien sûr pas dans la bonne direction, mais voilà, il n'y a pas d'autres décisions prises à ce stade. Donc, les règles qui sont en place pour la participation à l'Horizon Europe s'appliqueront à la Suisse comme à tout autre pays. Donc, ça inclut la nécessité d'en conclure un accord global, on a expliqué à plusieurs reprises ici, au sein duquel les conditions et les modalités de la participation de la Suisse ou de notre pays tiers seront alors définies. Et à cet égard, il n'y a pas de surprise. Nous tiendrons compte d'évolution et de la perspective d'évolution de la relation européenne-suisse dans son ensemble.
Merci. Y a-t-il d'autres questions sur ce sujet? Je vois 2 mains levées. Merci de ne les garder levées que si c'est là-dessus. Quentin.
Oui, bonjour Eric, excuse-moi, j'ai pas... Tu m'entends Eric?
J'espère que ta question est sur la Suisse.
Oui.
Je t'en prie.
Ah, bonjour, est-ce que tu m'entends Eric ou pas?
Moi, je t'entends en direct. L'inverse n'est pas vrai.
Ah d'accord, oui, non, excuse-moi, mon ordinateur est déjà en week-end. La question que j'ai pas très bien compris les prochaines étapes, est-ce qu'il y a déjà une réunion qui est prévue entre la négociatrice en chef de l'Union européenne et Maroš Šefčovič, ou est-ce que, entre Stéphanie Rizzo et son homologue suisse, ou est-ce que Maroš Šefčovič va parler avec le gouvernement suisse la semaine prochaine? Est-ce que tu as des informations de calendrier dessus?
Tu avais visiblement effectivement un problème pour écouter nos réponses, vu que nous avons spécifiquement dit que nous n'avions pas d'annonce à faire sur d'éventuels prochains contacts avec les autorités suisses sur ce sujet. Donc je te confirme que pour l'instant, l'annonce, la décision qui a été prise par la Suisse, que nous saluons comme il se doit, comme permettant à la Suisse de remplir une obligation qu'elle avait depuis de nombreuses années, n'est pas en soi un élément déclencheur aujourd'hui pour une décision de la Commission sur une ou plusieurs réunions à venir. Bien entendu, le moment venu, nous vous informerons comme nous le faisons toujours. Voilà, je ne vois pas d'autres questions sur ce sujet, donc je passe la parole à Philippe.
Oui, bonjour. J'ai une question concernant la négociation d'un accord de libre-échange avec l'Australie. Je voudrais savoir d'abord si vous pouvez confirmer l'annulation du round qui était prévu dans quelques jours en octobre, si en fait il s'agit d'un report d'un mois tout simplement, puis en fait de savoir pourquoi donc ce report, si c'est bien le cas, qui a décidé de cette opération. Et puis, d'une manière peut-être plus générale, où on en est dans cette négociation, simplement un petit rappel, et si la Commission a un objectif temporel pour conclure. Voilà. Et excusez ma voix qui manifestement a subi les premiers assauts de l'automne. Merci.
J'ai rien remarqué. En tout cas, elle était très claire. Et tes questions aussi. Je passe la parole à Myriam.
Oui, merci. Alors, je peux confirmer que les prochains rounds de négociations avec l'Australie est reporté d'un mois. Et comme on a toujours dit, les négociations, c'est ce qui prévaut, c'est la substance sur la vitesse. Et 7 mois de plus nous donnera le temps de préparer mieux la prochaine négociation. Et on peut confirmer aussi que ce n'est pas la fin des négociations. Et on continue à négocier, mais il y a encore des sujets ouverts. Et peut-être je peux donner un peu plus de détails des choses qui sont encore ouvertes. Et sur l'accès au marché, par exemple, sur les règles d'origine, sur les propriétés intellectuelles et les indications géographiques, sur les achats publics et sur le développement durable. Alors, il y a encore pas mal de travail à faire sur le domaine que je viens de dire, et c'est pour ça qu'on a besoin un peu de temps pour réfléchir aux prochaines étapes.
Philippe, une question de suivi.
Voilà. Donc, le report d'un mois, ça a été décidé par qui et à la demande de qui? Et alors, donc, vous ne fixez pas de prévision, je dirais, d'atterrissage pour une tentative de conclusion, pas de calendrier, de deadline? Merci.
On ne peut pas donner un deadline parce que ça dépend de la substance de négociation. Et comme je n'ai pas dit, nous, on met en première la substance et la qualité de la négociation sur la vitesse. Alors, le moment qu'on voit qu'il y a suffisamment d'accords, on sera prêt à conclure. Mais à cette étape-là, c'est trop tôt pour anticiper.
Et la décision a été prise par la Commission européenne. Philippe. Allez, dernière question.
Oui. Non, je voulais effectivement bien avoir la réponse de qui avait pris l'initiative de reporter. Et puisque donc c'est la Commission, pourquoi?
Je crois que Myriam a répondu à cette question dès le début de sa première intervention. Mais effectivement, c'est nous qui avons demandé ce report. Voilà, y a-t-il d'autres questions commerce pour Myriam? Oui, trade question.
Yeah, Lorne Cook, Associated Press. Just a quick follow-up. You don't want to talk about why the decision was made. Can you just say when the decision was made, please?
Yes, the decision was made a few days ago.
Right. Okay, any other questions on trade for Myriam? Mark, you have a question on trade.
Is this the EU's form of retaliation or punishment to Australia?
Look, the EU is not in the business of punishing anybody. Australia is a partner of the European Union. We have a trade negotiation ongoing. Trade negotiations, as everybody knows, are very, very specific beasts. As Myriam has said, the substance of the negotiation is one that definitely requires a lot more effort, and therefore it is not unusual that such decisions are taken. Are there other questions on trade? It is not the case, so we move to other issues. Thank you, Myriam. Augustine, a question on changing from summer to winter time.
Yes, thank you. The time is approaching, so I got an idea, and because we were following many other things, I'm not updated what happened with the proposal to stop with the switching practice each year. So are we going, wasn't it supposed to end this year, and what's the position of Commission now on that?
Thank you. Well, I think we are still switching time, end of the month, yes. No?
Thank you very much, Augustine. This question on the seasonal clock changes is also a seasonal question, which we receive twice a year, each time before the clock changes. The next seasonal clock change takes place on the 31st of October. I will repeat what I said 6 months ago when I got that question. And 6 months ago, I repeated what I said the 6 months before as well, which is that the Commission proposed to end seasonal clock changes in September 2018. This proposal followed requests from citizens, from member states, studies, a resolution from the European Parliament, and a public consultation. This proposal got the backing by the European Parliament in 2019, and the ball is now in the camp of the member states, which have to arrive at a common position in Council. Don't forget to switch your clock on the 31st of October this year. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Other questions on this fascinating subject? Laura, you have? No. Oliver, on this.
How often do you guys in the Commission actually curse former Commissioner Juncker for handing you this final parting gift? Because that was his very spontaneous initiative. He announced it on German morning television. He said people wanted, so we do it, based on a very flimsy opinion poll. And ever since, nothing is going on. And some people argue this is sort of a very good example, or a bad example, actually, of how sort of, PR gimmickry by Brussels, trying to show that you're very democratic and very close to people, actually backfires. Would you actually suggest such a proposal again if you had the chance and could turn back the clock? And yes, that was a pun intended.
We appreciate your sense of humor, Oliver. The answer to your first question is, of course, never. The answer to your second question is that we have procedures in place to consult European citizens on issues of interest. And were we not to look at the results of these initiatives and of these requests, you would all be the first ones to tell us that we are not actually taking into account what citizens want. Now, that does not mean that these issues are simple to resolve. And as we can see in this current case, indeed, time is definitely passing slowly when it comes to the changing of time, pun intended as well. But ultimately, there is a proposal on the table. It is a serious proposal, and it is up to the legislator to carry the ball now on this proposal. Right, I see no other question on this issue, to which I'm sure we will come back at some stage. Laura, I believe you had asked for the floor.
Hi, this is Laura Dubois from DPA. I have a question on energy prices. Does the Commission believe that the recent rise in energy prices will have an effect on the implementation of the Fit for 55 climate package, especially the expansion of the ETS trading scheme? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tim.
Hi, good afternoon, Laura. I think this is something I've had the chance to say before, but I understand that the question comes back because the conversation is there. I think what's important to do is to separate two issues. One is the temporary situation of energy prices, which is driven very much by the global market, the global gas market in particular, and some other seasonal issues and temporary measures. And this is something which the Commission is looking into very closely. We've already announced that we'll be putting together a toolbox which will help member states to address this issue, because a lot of the tools are actually in the hands of member states for helping vulnerable consumers in terms of facing temporary spikes in energy prices. The other thing is the green transition, and the Fit for 55 proposals, which is obviously a much more longer-term project. We have a target which is set for 2030 to reduce our emissions by at least 55%, and these proposals are intended to get us towards that target. So the Commission's proposals are on the table, as you know very well. They're now starting to be discussed in the European Parliament and by ministers in the Council, and we're obviously very closely involved in that process and discussing with them. But I would really say it's important to draw a line between the two, and also just to reiterate what's been said also by the Executive Vice President and by the Energy Commissioner, renewables continue to produce the cheapest electricity at the moment. So in a sense, if we were further down the road with the green transition and the Green Deal, the challenges that we have at the moment, which are due to a global market for fossil fuels, would not be as pronounced as they are now.
Thank you very much. Any other questions for Tim on the issue of energy? Yes, well, I would appreciate if people actually raise their hand. My job is not to read out the questions unless there's a technical issue. Rainer, you have a question. Please raise your hand.
Hello?
Guten Tag.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, as far as I know, this will be an issue next week at the informal meeting of the Environment Council. How long do we have to wait for the toolbox?
Thank you. Well, the Commission agenda, as you know, is set by the meeting of the heads of cabinets on Monday. So we will have to wait until the heads of cabinet decide to put it on the agenda of the college before we can give you that answer. But obviously, the Commission is working very hard in order to come up with its proposals on the toolbox. But we will inform you once the agendas, the relevant agenda of the Commission is set. Any other questions on energy issues? No, so let us move to other questions. Other questions for us today? I see that Anna had a problem raising her raising her hand in the chat, so I will read out her question. So, quote, I would like to ask about the results of the meeting of Commissioner Johansson with Minister Kaminski yesterday in Warsaw. Is the Commissioner reassured now that everything is in line with EU law and values on the border of Poland and Belarus? Now, Christian is replacing Adalbert today, so I pass him the floor.
Yeah, thank you, Anna, for the question. You might have seen that Commissioner Johansson also tweeted after the meeting, and there's a video recording where she gave herself an overview of this discussion, but I'm happy to, of course, say a few words on this. So the Commissioner and the Minister discussed the dangerous actions of the regime in Belarus and agreed that a firm and united response from the EU was needed. Commissioner underlined the importance of both protecting EU borders and protecting EU values, EU asylum law, and the fundamental rights. She raised concerns about reports of pushbacks at the border. The Commissioner welcomed the investigation of the Polish prosecutor into the recent deaths at the border and emphasized the importance of transparency. She therefore also called for journalists to be permitted to the border areas. The Commissioner emphasized that the EU was ready to assist Poland both financially and operationally to deal with the challenging situation. This visit yesterday will be followed by a technical mission of the European Commission officials next Wednesday, which will enable us in cooperation with the Polish authorities to make a strategic assessment of needs on the ground and discuss factual and legal aspects further.
Thank you very much. Are there other questions on this or other home affairs issues for Christian? No other issues for us today? Neither, so let me thank you. Oh, sorry, a bit too quick. Go ahead. I think you need your microphone. Not on home affairs.
Yesterday, I submitted my question to Foreign Affairs regarding the detention of 4,000 people in India since 5th of May 2019. 4,000 people have been arrested. 100 of them are juvenile. They were transported from Jammu and Kashmir to far-flung areas of India. And what is the response on that European Commission response? And yesterday, the former chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir, and People's Democratic Party leader Mehbooba Mufti was arrested, and number of journalists are in jail who are my personal contact. So what is really response to this situation in India? Thank you very much.
Nabila.
Thank you very much, Khalid, for your question. In general, when it comes to human rights in India, the EU follows closely the human rights situation in India, as it does in all countries worldwide, and engages with the Indian authorities and civil society on protection and promotion of human rights. At the July 2020 EU-India summit, leaders reiterated their commitment to human rights, including gender equality and women empowerment in all spheres of life, and the importance they attach to their cooperation and, on these matters. There was also an agreement to hold the next EU-India Human Rights Dialogue in New Delhi, which will provide an opportunity to discuss all issues and challenges at hand. When it comes to the situation in Kashmir, as you know, we follow the developments in Jammu and Kashmir closely. The EU's consistent position worldwide is that the allegations of human rights violations be investigated in line with international human rights commitments wherever they are committed.
Follow up, Khalid.
You see, India is a very important country, $80 billion US trade with India EU has, and like you name other countries and take action, since May 8th in Porto, India and EU had meeting, and before also human rights dialogue, EU raised the question of human rights in Jammu and Kashmir. But what we see, the pattern here, India hardly listen and then continue to arrest. I mean, arrest started last two years, constantly brutality, the nature of brutality and the level of brutality is just increasing. So is there any punishment? Okay, EU doesn't punish people, but EU has so much leverage on trade, like neighboring country Pakistan, EU taking action, and they are really on the action, they response to your action. Why don't you take really harsh action against India? Thank you.
As I said, Khalid, I mean, I'm not going to comment on all what you brought up, but we have discussions with India on human rights. We continue to discuss. We don't shy away from discussing with India on the situation of human rights. We have a comprehensive overview, and I would refer you to the June 2020 EU annual report for and then on human rights and democracy in the world, where we do stress in the country report on India, the EU stressed that India is also a democratic and pluralistic country where the constitution relevant legislation and robust institutions warrant citizens' right, the core principles of the secularism and equality in general, an active civil society and vibrant media seek government accountability and action. So we do talk to India, and we do not shy away from telling India that there is human rights and that we have to address them.
Thank you. Any other foreign affairs related questions for Nabila? No? Any other issues? No, so have a nice weekend. Next week, Monday, Tuesday, well, Monday, it will be Dana who will be in the press room. Thank you very much. Laura.